Hello, everyone. I'm Dan McDermott. Welcome to Google Plus Week. A special welcome to our visitors from Huffington Post, YouTube, Justin.tv, and, of course, Google Plus. And those listening on Blog Talk Radio and iTunes, we're glad to have you aboard for our weekly unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Joining me already, we have some more callers coming soon, but we have Prisoner, who that's his pseudonym, and he'll be discussing that a bit as we go along. We also have Mr. Tristan Gilbert, who was a first-time caller last week, and it's great to have him aboard, representing the younger folks who use Google+, and also Peter McDermott, a fellow internet broadcaster, and we'll ask him to tell us a little bit about his show as we go along. Normally, in the past, every time until this week, I've always said this was our unofficial look at the world's newest social network, but that's not the case anymore. There is some competition beyond Facebook and Twitter and the remnants of MySpace. And what's the one, Prisoner? Orkut. The big competition from Google's other social network, Orkut, all the Brazilians out there. But there is a new one, and we are going to be looking from our document. It's a strange URL, but if you go to my Plus page, which is gplus.to/McDermott, you'll see a link there. This is a publicly editable document that has been dramatically increased since I looked at it. So I'm hoping some of you folks can intro these things. But there is a new Prisoner. Help me out here. What's the name of it? I can't find it. So much stuff's been added to our topic list.
You're looking for Ume Now or You Me Now or whatever they're actually calling themselves?
Yeah, I jokingly said how to beat all the free social networks, charge. And but flippant, I guess. But it's interesting that they're going to charge $6 a week. It's a new social network, and they're aiming to kill off Facebook, and they think that Google Plus is just irrelevant. I think that Google Plus started out with a bang because of Google's user base, and so many people use Google products, and it was such a big news item. And I think a lot more people knew in 24 hours about Google Plus than know about this new social network. Google Plus is free, and some folks have talked about interest waning, visits waning, time on the site waning a bit. But I think it's like a new restaurant opening. Everyone checks it out, and then the regulars come back, and the new folks go on to the new restaurant. So I guess this is kind of two stories in one. We have a new social network that's going to charge $6 a month. That's one way to guarantee somebody is who they are. And then you also have this waning, this phenomena of people saying, it's yesterday's news already. What do you make of all this, Prisoner?
Well, I think, first of all, you've got to remember there are a lot of people trying to compete in this space. I mean, besides you, me, who, well, I don't know, I'm not sure I can think of anybody who would want to pay $6 a month, but maybe there's somebody out there who will. You also have competitors like Diaspora. You've got a lot of other people up and coming with some innovative takes on it. I think Yumi, their biggest hook is going to be, look, you're going to pay us, so we don't need to mine your data. We don't need to sell your data. We don't need to collect your data. And we promise you we won't. Well, we'll see. I think time will tell, and time will tell what they actually end up doing, and if they encounter any embarrassing data leaks like Facebook and Google have.
Let me ask you this, Prisoner. Would you pay $6 to join a social network?
I wouldn't pay $6 to join a social network blind. I think they're offering a free month, I noticed, which is a reasonably good way to do it. But, I get my email for free. I get my RSS feeds for free. I get a lot of things for free on the Internet right now. I have to pay my Internet access fee. But, besides that, I don't know why I'd want to.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the way these guys make money is from advertising and from the games. And then I guess MySpace had MySpace Music, but that came shortly after they started to diminish in popularity, mainly from my perspective because of all the spam, the fake accounts, and just being bombarded with requests to check out some band you had no interest in. So that's something. I mean, competition's good. Facebook has certainly gotten better in the week since Google Plus started. Let me ask Tristan, I think you said last week you deleted your Facebook account Is that correct? And you're enthralled with Google Plus? Tell me, would you pay $6 to use Google Plus? $6 a month?
No, I wouldn't pay for something I could get free somewhere else. Like
And,
if Facebook was still free and Google Plus was Google Plus was $6, I would probably still be using Facebook.
Okay. Let me ask Peter McDermott. First, Peter, tell me a little bit. Tell us about your show, your website that you do.
No, I've just started a blog and a series of videos with a weekly show called Micro Patrol, where I kind of try to show end users, people a little less tech savvy, how to navigate through the interwebs.
All the interwebbed tubes. What do you think? Would you? How excited are you about Google Plus versus Facebook, Twitter, whatever else you use?
Well, I mean, at the current moment, I mean, I'm totally stoked. It's been an excellent experience. I've been very active over the last 2 to 3 weeks, I guess really just the last 2 weeks, and it's really opened up some doors. But the caveat with that is the people on there now are the early adopters, and those are the few that are really embracing the Hangouts and the networking opportunities. So it really is the tech-savvy group. Once, the millions and billions join in from all over the world, it'll be interesting to see what happens to it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's interesting, and it's I guess you get a free month. Prisoner, what's the URL for that site if somebody wants to check that out?
Honestly, I don't know. We've got the list. We've got the link to the article and our story.
Yeah, this thing is grown.
Oh, what do you know? It is youmenow.com.
As in you or Y-O-U?
The letter U.
Okay.
The word me. The word now.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it does.
It occurs to me. All of us are saying, we wouldn't pay $6 for it. But, it also occurred to me that a good, 20, 30 years ago, people were saying, why would we pay any amount of money for television? And now cable TV is almost run over-the-air broadcasting, making it a dinosaur. So we don't know how this is going to evolve.
Yeah, I think it depends. People say they'll never pay for an online newspaper, but then a lot of people pay for the Wall Street Journal because it has interesting information. The Financial Times has a paywall, and some other newspapers. One of our competitors in our Frederick County market, the Daily, has a paywall, and you can't look at their stories online unless you pay. And in this case, there are. It depends what kind of community they're going after. Facebook's biggest strength is that everybody is on it. Everyone's set up an account. Even Leo Laporte, he canceled his account, but then eventually, signed up again to use some app or to review something. So it's like you can't not be on it, and that's a strength for it. So we'll see if folks will pay. Let me bring in another caller real quick. This is area code 614. Who am I talking to?
Hey, how are you? This is Brad from Australia.
Oh, awesome. It's Brad, B-R-A-D?
How are you, mate? Yeah, I'm good.
Awesome. Brad, welcome. Have you called the show before?
Yeah, I just called in to say I wouldn't pay $6 for Google Plus if they haven't seen a pricing feature on that. Google Plus is a great service to meet new people and interact with Hangouts, and I've met some cool people on there. I've actually spoken to Michael Dell and them sort of people, which is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going after. I'm not sure what market they're trying to get, who they're trying to appeal to. If they had, there's some things people will pay for, and whether they do it, we'll see, to be determined. All right, so this is interesting.
Yeah,
I guess.
definitely.
Yeah, so there's this story here. I'm looking at our docs, our cheat sheet for tonight, and this is editable by the public. I'm not sure who put this one in. You can only get your 250 most recent posts. Which one of you guys?
I posted that one.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me about what's the deal there. That's cause for concern.
It was a big concern earlier
sure
today.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, hang on one sec, Brad. Go ahead, prisoner. Tell us what the deal is and what the rationale is there.
I guess sometime within the past week, a couple of people started discovering that when they look back in their stream, they were only seeing 250 or so posts, and they got worried, so they did a takeout to get a backup of all of their posts, and they discovered they only had 250 there as well. The information kind of spread around. I saw a whole bunch of people posting information, some misinformation about this. This evening, Yonatan from Google posted that, yeah, they're aware of it. It is actually a bug. All of your posts are safe with them, even if you can't get it out right now, and they promise a fix as quickly as they can.
Okay. And then, what do you think? Anybody worried about this? Okay. I guess
big silence there. I can tell you that, I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, especially since a lot of people who have been leaving Google Plus, because of the name issue, have been going and thought they'd be able to take their posts with them, and suddenly discovered they can't. So, here it is. Google is telling people, if you don't like our policies, goodbye. And don't forget, your data is always yours, and you can take it with you. And here's a bug that's been existing for 2 months now. So I'm a little concerned, but it's an early service. They're going to work out these bugs. As long as they actually make good and fix the bug soon, I think this will be an easy one for them to get past.
Okay.
Yeah, and you've also got to realize when we all joined this, it was in trials. And you kind of accept something when you join up, knowing that it's not polished, it's not the final release. So I don't think anybody really has the right to be bitter about any bugs preventing them from getting older posts at this point. If it was moving forward where it was the full release and public, then I could understand. But at this point, I don't think anybody should hold anything against that.
Doesn't Twitter still? I mean, when it's gone, it's gone. I mean, isn't that? Does Twitter, don't they stop at a certain point?
Well, every single tweet is kept in the Library of Congress.
Oh, well, okay.
So somebody has them.
I'm imagining that this is a bug temporarily, and that the data is saved. It's just not visible, some sort of caching issue. Brad, if you want to share with me a post, if you'd like for me to put your picture up like I have these other folks, just share a post with me and I'll grab your profile picture and put it up there. All right.
Sure thing, mate. Are you on Google Plus yourself?
Yeah,
are you on Google Plus yourself?
I'm gplus.to/McDermott, McDermott. And
okay, sure thing, mate. Sure thing. I'll check it out. But I've actually had a problem with Google Plus myself with the name. I do a podcast called Tech Webcast. I actually mainly use that for my podcasting, but they actually wanted me to change the name a second time after emailing the info to them, and they said my name was actually okay, and then like a month later they wanted me to change it. So I don't know what was up with that, but
that was your
quite strange.
Your actual name, Brad, or you used your show name as your username?
Yeah, just I had my name, I had Brad, and then I had my podcast, Tech Webcast, and they wanted me to send in some information, which I did that, and they said that was fine, and then a month later or so, they wanted me to change something about my name. So yeah, that's what I did, and
I guess you got caught up.
I guess you got quite weird.
I guess you got caught up in the branding issue. They were experimenting with some brands and then not experimenting or testing in the background more. So that's interesting. Yeah. Prisoner has he has. You want to give a brief rundown of your issue with your name?
I think we'll talk about my name when we get to it. when we get to the name section of this evening's program.
All right. Okay, so the 250 most recent posts on Panic, they could... okay, I guess we're good on that. Weekly visits on the decline. Is this... what do you... And then a good... Priz, do you want to talk about that? Good and lead and stargazing?
Sure. The post, we get it from CNET, which is what's linked there. They are quoting, they're quoting Experian Hitwise, saying that there's been yet another decline in the amount of people who are going directly to Plus, and it looks like even there's been a decline in how long people are spending on Plus when they're there. And, to some extent, this isn't too much of a worry. Exactly how, sites are going to have ups and downs as they grow. But you've got to wonder if Google is beginning to worry about just how many people are still using their site. We haven't heard from Google recently how many people are on it. In fact, I don't think we've heard from them now in 2 months or so. How many people are actively using the site. Combine this with a couple of things that we've been seeing over the past week. So, for example, we saw that Natalie Villalobos was at UC Berkeley handing out Google Plus stuff to the incoming students and trying to get them to sign up right there. We hear word from Bradley Horowitz is sniffing around on Twitter. On Twitter, not on Google Plus, trying to find some of the celebrities that are there and convince them to come over to Google. And this is breaking news this evening. We saw that Google is now rolling out, as we speak, a list of what they're calling interesting and famous people. So if you're signing up as a new user, you're given a list of interesting and famous people who you can start following so you don't feel so alone when you're there. Now, all of these, to me, sound... Oh, and finally, Natalie has asked in her biweekly Friday feedback segment, trying to find out what's bringing people back to Google. Why are those of us who are still here, and who would we most like to see on Google+. So it sounds to me like they're beginning to get a little worried that the people are leaving, that they're not getting new people here, and they need to find something to bring everyone, to hold on to their user base.
Right. And I guess they pick and choose who the people of note are, as they do with the verified profiles and such.
So it seems. I mean, skimming through the list that I saw, almost everyone, not everyone, but almost everyone is a verified user. There are a couple of interesting exceptions, and I've listed them on the docs that we've been working on. The most notable one that I saw on the list was that Alton Brown was announced by Vic himself. He made a post welcoming Alton, but Alton's not a verified user. We had Bradley Horowitz announce some members like David Spade and Tyra Banks and Adrian Grenier. All of them are verified, but for some reason Alton isn't. So we're seeing some interesting things show up here. And I did notice that Alton Brown did make the list of interesting users this evening. And we have a link to that full list on the Google Doc, as provided by Craig Canale of the Huffington Post.
I wonder if he's on that list.
I did not see him on the list, actually. Yeah, he didn't seem to make the list himself. And I'm sorry to say, Dan, you didn't make the list either.
Well, what are you going to do? All right,
you can click report feedback, Dan. Tell them there was a bug. You should have been included there.
I know. Outrageous. Maybe they're... All right, so I've got... all right, so let me see. Let's bring in additional caller. I'm just bringing in now. Is this Brad again?
Hey, Dan, yep, it's Brad, and also we have got Steve, one of my friends from USA. He's actually on Google Plus as well, and he actually had the same problem as what I did. Changed his name, and he's back to normal. Steve, go ahead, mate.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got your picture ready now, so we're good. All right. So let's look at our next topic here. Google Plus Sparks. Who put that one in? Who's good on that?
I've never actually used Sparks before. I'm not really got into that. But what about you, Dan? You got into the Google Hangouts at all, mate? Or have you met anyone famous from there? Myself, I have. I've actually met Michael Dell from the Dell, and Robert Scoble, and that sort of thing. It's really good to chat with famous people, which you never actually had a chance to.
That is
cool. And to bring that back full circle, Brad, to the Sparks, the way the Sparks work, they're kind of like hashtags or keywords. So when you're trying to fill up your stream with things outside of the people that you've circled and you're trying to discover content that's related to your interests, basically when you pick Sparks, it's going to be looking for those keywords in the content that's posted. And then when you click on that particular or just your Spark stream, you'll see stuff as it's related to the content that you selected, very much the way columns would work in TweetDeck.
Huh.
Okay. Sounds good, mate.
Let me ask you something, Peter. Peter, how much have you actually seen or heard about people using Sparks? Because I saw a post earlier today, and I can't find it now at the moment, which indicated that Sparks were one of the least used features of all of Google+. And when you talk to people about it, I hear a lot of people... Go ahead. What was that?
No, keep going.
No, when I talk to people about features in Google+, I will sometimes mention Sparks, and people will go, huh? What? It's like people don't know it's there.
A lot of people don't even know they're there. Now, and the duality of that, though, it's a great, great, great opportunity for you to reach outside of your streams and reach outside of the people you normally look for. Now, if you look for people when they first get on Twitter, when they first get on Google, the mistake they make, and it's a mistake I've made myself, is they try to add a bunch of people with like interests because they think if they add them, maybe somebody will add them back, they'll create a following. But what Sparks does is it allows you not to search for people based on what their people's interests are, but actually see what those people are talking about. For example, if you take somebody that's an IT manager at work, maybe he does IT stuff at work all day, but when he gets home, he's really passionate about chocolate chip cookies. So he's going to not want to look for other IT people. He's going to want to use a Spark for baking, chocolate chip, cookies, cakes, things like that. And he's going to discover people in his stream that he wouldn't have otherwise. So it's a great way to connect to people, and then to link back to what Brad was saying, to be able to have that hangout where they introduce themselves and get to know each other.
Yeah, exactly. My highlight of Google Plus so far is meeting people that you never actually met before and making good friends and that sort of thing. And chatting with famous like tech people and podcasts and that sort of stuff, and it's really good for networking as well. And would you agree with that, Steve or Peter?
No, yeah,
absolutely. I would agree with that. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
we got let me bring another caller. Caller area code 604. Who's this?
Bowie.
Bowie. Man,
what's up, man?
He just woke up. You got some coffee too, huh? All right.
Yeah. No.
All right, he's gonna do a nice family friendly Bowie. All right. Okay. So next we got there's a new Android. Just a couple new things here. Social networking. There's a new thing called Social Plus on Android. I don't know if any of you guys have used this yet. Just launched, and I like the sound of this. An iOS version's coming soon, but not here yet. That's an interesting. Normally you hear the opposite. But Social Plus, it lets users access Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus using one Social Plus app. That's cool. And again, we have a link to this in our cheat sheet, which is available on my profile, and most of these callers have shared the post with that on there. Also, plus one buttons on the mobile web. Any of you guys use plus one buttons? Tristan, you use them at all?
I can't use them with my Google Plus app, but I don't usually use the web version of Google Plus that much.
Okay. Bowie, do you use them
Dan,
at all?
I use them all the time when I'm on the web, because if you share publicly that you've plus one something, you open yourself up to the opportunity to make connections with other people. So when I find content that's related to what I'm interested in and what I'm trying to do with my presence on the internet, I always take that opportunity to plus one. And in most cases, you may actually be the first person to plus one website publicly, which is, it's just a great networking opportunity. And it also shows the blogger who their audience is when you're plus oneing those links.
Yeah, I've done it, and people like it, and sometimes I'll add you, or you might strike up a new friendship. Can you tell but I don't think you can see what someone is plus one, or you can now. I know there was an issue with that.
They won't see what you plus one on Google Plus, but when you plus one something like outside on the interweb, they can see it in your profile. There's like a little tab there, a separate section.
But I couldn't see myself, right?
They've rolled out a new addition to the plus one buttons web-wide now. Anybody who's put a plus one button on their web, if you click on it, you now have the opportunity essentially to share it directly in your stream. So it's more it now almost takes on the same role that that Facebook's web-wide liking also has. So it no longer just shows up in your +1 profile. You have the opportunity to share it. The website has the opportunity to customize what kind of information shows up in that share. So they were very excited about this during the week. And that's outside of Google Plus itself, but it certainly has an impact on how Google Plus will be used.
Cool. I like it. I +1 stuff all the time when I see something that's funny or I just agree with. And it's a quick way. It's great because it's a quick way. It's like the Facebook like button, but a little better somehow. I'm not sure how. But it's cool because you can just very quickly say, this is cool. I like this or whatever. And you don't have to, type something. And then I was really excited that you could reshare a post in the app now on Android. Now that Bowie's convinced me to go Android. So what else have we got? Yeah, Bowie. Add photos from your phone to your albums once you get back to your desk anyway. Priz, you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. One of the big things they introduced, one of the biggest problems that a lot of people have had is when the instant upload is an awesome tool, very innovative from them. But one of the problems is when once you've instantly uploaded this photo, you needed to do something with it. And the only thing you could do with it until now was share it as a post. And what this change has allowed you to do is instead of just sharing a single photo as a post, you can share a bunch of them and put them into an album. It's one of the features apparently a lot of people have been asking for. The way you had to do it before, though, was before you had to go up, you had to switch to Picasa, you had to move it from the instant upload folder in Picasa into whatever folder you wanted, and then you went back. And that was, to be honest, that was a pain, and it also didn't always work very well. Now what you can do is directly from the instant upload folder inside Plus, you can send it to any other folder or create a new one.
All right, who's trying to get in here?
It that now better.
Brad, go ahead.
I've got Steve that wants to have a chat with you, Dan.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Steve. I guess you're on the phone with Brad.
Yeah, he is. Yep, he's on the same call with me.
Okay.
You there, Steve?
Can you tell me what the difference between the Picasa is upload before and now is?
Is that Steve
I'm sorry,
asking?
that was a question for me. I missed it.
Go ahead, Steve.
We're still on the Google Plus.
I'm
Are we
sorry.
still on the Google Plus topic here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, I had the same problem as Brad, that, I didn't realize, you had to use your real name, and it was kind of my fault. I think they're really trying, I've heard different reasons. I think they're really trying to be able, they want to use your real name to be able to tie in with marketing. And I think that's the real reason. And I'm not saying I'm totally against that because that's how they can justify the expense for the social networking. But in a way, I could see it as a bad thing as well.
Is that speculation or is that a known thing? I mean, I could think of many reasons they'd want, looking at the past experience from other social networks, the pros and cons, I could see a number of reasons why they would, in general, want real names to stand out, other than from marketing. I'm not sure if that's. I'm not sure if the jury's out on that.
I disagree that I think you should on the internet. I think you should have a right to choose what name you can use on the internet, and keep your private life as private. That's my opinion, anyway.
When you say,
not if there's going to be a forum that's based on having open identity. If you're going to have an open forum based on what people really are, what they represent, and they're going to express themselves, and the majority of those people agree that we want our identities to be public to keep this a safe environment, then I don't think there should be any anonymity in it.
I think we have to remember...
Whoa, Peter. I'm gonna.
All right, prisoner. Go ahead.
You said a whole bunch of things there, and you muddled up a bunch of concepts. I don't think what a lot of people are looking for is anonymity. What they're looking for is pseudonymity. And the big difference there is that we basically want it so that when we show up tomorrow, you know it's the same person you talked to yesterday. When we show up next week, you know it's the same person. That doesn't necessarily have to tie us to a single name. That doesn't necessarily have to tie us to the same name that's on our driver's license, that's on our passports, that was given to us by our parents when we were born. Now, you use the term identity there, and that's been bandied about a lot, especially since Eric Schmidt kind of tripped over his own words when he was using it the other week. The big issue is you don't need a real name or a common name or whatever they're going to call it next week to prove your identity. You don't. And that's where that's what Google basically hasn't answered, is why do they want this common name, and why do they seem to be pretending that it has something to do with your identity?
Because I don't think most people are as mature about that as you. Now, you're talking about anonymity being different than having a pseudonym, and I totally agree. You know, it kind of goes into, I was reading a few articles on HuffPo about the Black Hat Hacker Convention and about DEF CON, and about how hacking's really changed over the last 30 years, because it used to be you would have a pseudonym. You know, you'd be Hacksaw737 or whatever, and you would go under that name until something went terribly wrong. And then you've got a kill switch, and you don't have to be that person. That person can fall off the web, and nothing of that is attached to you or can follow you. Now, granted, of course, authorities could trace the IP address. You know, you, of course, could take measures to make sure that's not tracked. But you can always change that. That's something you can always change. But what's on your driver's license, what's on your passport, yes, you can change it, but it's attached to something real, attached to something physical. So to say that anonymity and pseudonymity are two completely different things, I totally disagree with.
Well, but I mean, that's the thing. They're not. They are somewhat completely different things. Anonymity means that today I can log in and I can call myself Hacksaw37 and I can do whatever I want, and tomorrow I can log in as something, you know, as Great Guy 42. And between yesterday and today,
that's why can't you? You can change your name every day.
That's anonymity. That every day you can change it. Pseudonymity, the concepts behind it basically say, I just have another name. It happens to be a name that I picked. It happens to be a name that I am sharing with you. And it means that tomorrow when you see Prisoner come on, you know it's the same Prisoner that you saw yesterday. You know it's the same Prisoner you saw last week, and you've got a pretty good assurance that it's going to be the same Prisoner you see a week or a month from now.
Let me ask Peter a question here. We've had a caller on, real nice lady. She's a teacher, and all of her students, of course, are online. And she didn't want to use her real name, which the students know, in her interactions on the web. I mean, she might have a Facebook under her teacher's name where she can, except in that one state where it's banned, give test results or answer questions, provide support for her class. But she also wants to be able to hang out and if she's in a club or just interact with other adults as we're doing, and not have the students necessarily be aware that this is, Mrs. So-and-so from the class. So they're legitimate. You might have a police officer or what have you that wants to be able to participate in these things, but doesn't necessarily want to be associated with this high-profile job. And should they be excluded? Now, the obvious argument is Google set this up as really sort of an extension of Google profiles, where they wanted folks to tie in all the different Google applications. And it's worked to that degree, and they have the right to make the rules. And Prisoner is a fan, and we always like to point this out just briefly, that when we are critical, it's because out of friendship, like someone in the family, and we're trying to set them straight. But I see both sides of this. In general, I like the notion of knowing, but in this case, Prisoner, he puts it as under his name, his real name is on his profile, and I've linked to it in the things here. And then he has Prison underneath that. It's not like he's hiding. It's just that's his nickname that he goes by in real life, just like Madonna. And that brings up a whole new thing. Madonna, and I don't think we talked about this last week, but I think shortly after last week's show, I did a post on this. But
no, wait a minute, Dan. Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
If you want to say that Prisoner goes by Prisoner when he checks out at the grocery store, when he makes a dinner reservation, when he boards an airplane that he goes by that, and that's
probably
his
one
legal
out of
pseudonym.
three. Probably 1 out of 3. I mean, he doesn't when he signs. You know,
Well,
when he
that's
checks in.
not the same thing as you're talking about Madonna or Bono or anybody like that. That's what they're referred to in public. That's what the public conceives them as, and that's what they use as, you might want to call it, their alias.
But that's the same thing with
What I
prisoner.
don't like is the notion of having an online alias and then having an offline real name. If it's something you use in both realms and have some way to prove that in a quote-unquote real name scenario like Google Plus is, then that would be fine.
That's
but
exactly
if you're trying to
prisoner's
shield
case.
yourself,
Why?
That's exactly prisoner's case, though. I mean, when he's at the pool hall or the bar or the coffee shop or church, whatever, hey, prisoner, what's up? That's what they call him. I've had friends, the guy who's designing the set that we're going to have behind me so it's not boring or as boring, his nickname is MacGyver, and everyone calls him that, and he looks like the TV guy MacGyver. Now, when Madonna signs up for a visa to go to England and tour, she probably doesn't use the name Madonna, nor would Lady Gaga. So for legal transactions, none of these people, Bono wouldn't. But you know, on stage and on a TV interview, and if someone sees them on the street, what's up, Bono? What's up, Madonna? I love your new album. You know, I don't see any difference between Madonna and Bono and Prisoner in this case. Prisoner, I know you want to get into
okay,
since we're talking
now,
about you.
Prisoner, the fact that you have your full name in your profile, that's kind of the exception to the rule, though, because basically I can
be
take
honest.
your
The reason why it's in my profile is because I was off Google Plus for 2 weeks. I mean, that's what it boiled down to. I was forced to put my name back on. I was forced to put the name that they wanted to hear from me.
Well, and that's what I'm saying I agree with. Because if I want to look up Madonna's real name, will.i.am's real name, I have the ability to do that because sources are going to tell me what their brick-and-mortar name is, if you will. And there's a way where you can set privacy settings for different things. You only have to share with certain circles. You know,
but you
Facebook,
don't right now.
obviously, you can set the level of friendship.
But you don't have that
change your
feature
name.
right now.
You have to have a unified name both ways. I'm sorry?
You don't have that feature right now. I mean, the fact is that they are making me use a name that my friends will not recognize. I mean, that's really what it just boils down to. They are making me, you know, their stated reason for declaring that I choose a name is so that people will be able to find me. And at the same time, they are forcing me to use a name that people will not be able to find me under.
Well,
now I understand that, you know, and you can then go and say, okay, people when they went and want to look for Madonna, want to, that's the name they know her by. They're not going to know her by the name that's on her driver's license. That's fine, and I understand that. You know, I think a lot of us in the pseudonym community are saying all we want are the names that people will actually find us by, and not the names that are on our driver's license or that Google thinks are our, quote, real name, close quote.
What about this,
well, then
guys?
why do you not want to have your name on your profile, then?
It is.
I mean, my name has always been on my profile. You know, there have been a couple of people who that's how they're going to find me. But the reason why I want my pseudonym on my profile, the reason why I asked Dan to use my pseudonym on the screen here, is because that is how most people know me. When they see a message show up in their stream, that's how people are going to see me and recognize the fact that it's a message from me.
What about this, guys? What about this? Just like you can, what if you simply had your real name and they enforced that, and then you could have a couple fields for nicknames, and then someone could search for either Prisoner or Alan, and then I mean, would that solve the problem? Maybe you could even click, maybe a user, just like I can click on their profile, but and it lets me select, my favorite Alan pick or my favorite Peter McDermott pick, and I can switch it. Maybe they can switch it to the other nickname. I don't know. I mean, is this silly or?
Well, no. Hopefully, that's the way that they're going. Now, we don't know because they're not telling us, but hopefully, they're going with a way to allow people to see and use what name is going to be expressed in there publicly, and hopefully, they'll still require people to have some sort of real-life identifier or some connection to the real world.
Now, Dan, a good compromise, though, I think, would be, let's say you want to go by Prisoner, okay? Here's a condition where I'm totally fine with this. if every time I hover over your name, the alt text is your legal name, if they want to go with this legal name thing, I like it here because it's a legal name environment. Now, granted, I don't like the level of enforcement they have because it's very willy-nilly. Some of them are getting, some of them they're not. But if you're willing to, I understand wanting to have your established online avatar as your identity on every social network. That makes total sense. Having unity in that and being able to grab those eyes that are used to seeing you, I totally get that. As long as the alt text, when I hover over your name, gives me your legal name, so there can be some accountability to what you say.
That's a good
here's
idea.
The thing. You're asking for accountability. You're asking for accountability. And, I agree actually 100% that people need to be held accountable to what they say and what they do. I don't necessarily think that exposing your real name is going to help with that. If my real name is John Smith, and I know 2 John Smiths, how is seeing a real name actually going to help with any accountability? On the other hand...
Okay, you're nitpicking now, but if we get into the psychology
of it... I'm not nitpicking, and it's an important point to understand. Names are not identifiers. They're not. No matter how much Google wants it to be, no matter how much people think it is, a name does not identify a person. Now, if you want to be able to know, to absolutely positively know, that the person you're talking to today is the same person you talked to yesterday, that's what Google has to do. That's the accountability they have to bring in. That's what they can do, and that's the power behind this system, if they actually go through with it. The problem is Google keeps wanting to go back to a name. Now, I'll be honest. My name is Alan Furstenberg. Everyone here knows it. It's on my profile when you go look at it. There's another Alan Furstenberg out there. We actually have fairly similar careers. It's not too difficult
and I
to
can
find
see how
either of
that's
us
a
by
problem.
Google.
Yeah. No, I agree. That could be a total problem.
Maybe
if somebody's looking for you and they find the wrong you.
Rather, maybe Google Plus should do like Facebook and Twitter. You have your real name, but make your nickname or pseudonym searchable.
That is searchable. That's how it currently works now. I have Prisoner in my profile, and that's searchable. The problem is when my friends are watching messages come through the stream, they're going to just be quickly looking down. They're going to see a message from Alan Furstenberg, and they're going to ignore it because they don't know who Alan Furstenberg is. Whereas if they saw a message from Prisoner, they would know who it is.
Yeah.
And let's face it, that's how we work. We can, if we're scrolling through a list of names, we're not going to read a message posted by somebody whose name we don't recognize, even if that's their legal name. If I saw Madonna's full name written out, I'd have to pause for a second and say, wait a minute, is that really Madonna, or is that, somebody else with the first name Madonna, and because I don't recognize the last name. I can find stage names for other people who have no resemblance at all to the name that they use publicly. And those are high-profile cases. Me, I'm not a high-profile person. I've got, a few dozen followers, most of them my friends. Okay? A large number of which don't know me by the name that's on my driver's license.
Mm-hmm. I'm totally interested in the compromise we came up with, though. I think that would be amiable.
Okay, let's.
I just think you should have
Let me switch gears. We all every show we hash this out, and it's awesome. But before you two come to blows, no, I know it's spirited debate. Spirited debate. All right, what about the branding thing? Did we talk about this on the show last week or not? The Madonna branding, is that a branding page or a personal page? I don't think we did.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week.
Well,
a little bit though.
What do you guys think? If Madonna puts her page up, and it's her PR people who are doing it, and the things, it's her page, it's her official page, it's mentioned on Madonna.com/news. Now we have a Google Plus profile. But it's not posts from her. It's stuff like, hey, here's a chance to win a poster of your favorite Material Girl, or check out our online concert coming up, that sort of thing. It's not really her. It's her PR people who are maintaining this page. And obviously Madonna's a busy woman, probably can't be on all the networks that she has her name on. What do you think? Is that sort of a different standard, or because they said you can't have branding pages? I mean, Peter, you can't have your own. You can't have a separate profile for your show. What do you guys think?
No, Dan, that's not completely true. They started out with Ford Motor Company. Ford Motor Company is the only branded profile that's currently legitimized by Google+. And when Ford Motor Company came on, they came on, I can't remember if it was with or without the permission of Google, but Google has allowed them to stay. And if you actually search for Ford Motor Company, it's going to come up with a brand page. They have over, it's a test account. They're testing the first commercial account. They have over 14,000 followers right now. And as other people tried to come on, Ford was the only one that Google had entered an agreement with to let them test the business part. So the new ones you're starting to see come up, if they're vetted by Google, then they're like Ford. There was a lot in the news a couple months ago when Ford entered in with the first brand page.
Okay.
I believe they were actually invited by Google right from the beginning.
Okay.
They were on there practically from day one.
All right. I'm gonna mention something here from the chat room. Earlier, I asked, is it justin.tv or Justin, some guy, and let me find it here. This is interesting. Someone from the chat room. I've got my wrong mouse. I got two computers going on. It's from Jelly Boy or something? Jello Boy said the original Justin.tv was a single channel featuring founder Justin Kan, or Kan, K-A-N, Kan, who broadcast his life 24/7 and popularized the term lifecasting. So it is Justin.tv. And now they have a few more channels, I guess. All right, and then let's see here. Google Plus gets integrated into Gmail People widget. You can now see a sender's latest Google Plus post through Gmail. This is just, what you'd expect. I mean, they're going to integrate their products into one another. And then I'm not sure if we've already done we've already done that story. Was it Prisoner? CNN using Hangouts, and I know Bowie was just saying some buddies of his figured out how to do mobile Hangouts. I've tried. I think one time I did it, but the problem I have is I can't. Like here, I'm using Blog Talk Radio to bring the callers in, and if I try to use a Skype or a Google Hangout, I've got to do it on a separate computer. That's what Leo Laporte does. He brings it in through his mixer, and then I'm actually going to order. I'm going to either use FireWire or the cables, but it's a real hassle. And I tried it in I think last night's show, and I was using virtual audio cables to run the audio back because the people on the Blog Talk Radio want to hear the people on Skype and vice versa, but you only want to hear everybody once. So I was trying to shoot it back and forth, and one of my virtual audio cables froze with a buffer overflow, and all of a sudden, like 20 minutes into the show, I couldn't hear Emily, so then she called in. It was a real hassle. But who posted this, and who knows what the deal is with CNN using Hangouts?
This is Priz again. If you follow the link, you actually will eventually get to the CNN, a video clip of them using it. From what it looked like to me on the clip, they were basically just using Hangouts the same way one would use Skype, just to get a face and the audio from a person there. They didn't seem to acknowledge Google Plus on it. They kind of used some creative graphics placing to hide some of the features of the Hangout, like the thumbnail pictures of everyone else were hidden there. But you could see that it was still a Hangout by some of the icons they left visible. Other than that, it's not too clear. I mean, it was the same way you get somebody else talking on any presentation. But here they went and used a Google Plus Hangout for, as far as anyone knows, the first time in a broadcast medium like this.
Tristan, do you use Hangouts? Are you a big hanger-outer?
Just about every day.
Say it again. You said what?
Every day. Just about every day I use Hangouts.
Who do you usually hang out with? Your friends, or just random? You just join one, or you start one?
Sometimes I'll start, but most of the time I'm always joining one with just random people that I meet online.
Okay.
And it's a good way for me to make friends.
Me. Every day with me.
Bowie's back.
Yeah, Bowie's always online too.
Bowie, I'm supposed to use your new picture, and I don't know when you sent it to me.
Email. I'm tired of that picture. Tired.
It's you in the dartboard. That's funny because I have your picture on my dartboard as well. That's interesting.
Oh, Genghis Khan.
Yeah. Yeah, I put his picture.
So how are you? 70 now? 70?
Okay, so you find Hangouts. Do you normally start the Hangouts, or do you normally join them, or what?
I'll join our start. This is it. I'll just if I'm doing work at the computer, I'll just have it in the background or in the corner of the screen or something, and just have it there. You know.
Peter, you do a show on the internet or some vlogging. Tell me, but do you? I guess you're set up. Does whatever you're using to record your show? Will the Hangout interface also accept that? Because in my case, it won't. I come in with an Intensity Pro card, but Google Plus, and I've talked to them, and they keep coming back saying we're working on it, and hopefully they are. But I can come out with a little capture thing that works, and otherwise I'd have to put a separate cam up here, and then that ruins the CPU. But or use a separate computer. Have you had luck with it?
Yeah, Dan, I've got about 9 webcams, and it all looks terrible when I try to do it simultaneously. So I'm at the point now where I actually use an HD camcorder to film me. I have an audio out from the mixing board going into the camera, and then I just do a screen capture with audio on the Google Hangout, and then I'll edit them together. That's the only way I've found to do it with any clarity. Anything else, I'd need a terabyte of RAM and a 20 gigahertz processor. I don't think those are out yet.
Boy, that'd be nice to have a terabyte of RAM. You could just do a virtual hard drive with everything. Okay, cool. So I think we'll see more of this, because I remember the first time I saw whatever show it was like Larry King or something, and they had Oprah on, and she was on via Skype, and it looked terrific. And that was the first time I'd ever seen Skype used in a broadcast. And now I know Leo Laporte's using Video, VIDYO. He's using them, but he's still using some Skype. And I've experimented with different things, and but I'm looking to do a Hangout during the show and bring that in as a shot. So okay, let's talk. Let's get a game update. Who wants to hit that? Tristan, are you playing a lot of Google Plus games?
No, I've been hanging out too much.
What about Priz? What do you think?
Well, the link that was posted actually was an interesting one. I didn't post it, but I went and read it. And the person who wrote the article essentially said that Google games are the social games that are there actually do bring some nice social aspects to a game. So, for example, if you're playing Angry Birds, you will see how all of your friends did when you finish a level. They say this increases some good competition, gives you a leaderboard for each level. I think it's an interesting angle on it, but to me that still doesn't seem like a social game. When I think social games, I think sitting around playing cards with my friends and talking and playing at the same time.
It would be neat if you could do that were integrated with some Hangout functionality.
You bet.
And I'd get Bowie's girlfriend to put a mirror behind him so I could read his hand and defeat him soundly.
We need Google Hangout Blackjack.
That would be cool. Except it's hard.
I'm going to take off the filter, man. I'm going to take off the filter.
Oh dear. Peter, do you find yourself messing with these games at all?
No. That's my answer. Just no. I was hoping they would have left that Zynga crap with Facebook, but it seemed to make its way over here. Very disappointed.
I think it's good if it brings more people on and they don't cloud our stream. It's voluntary. It's an opt-in stream. So I think it's good.
Yeah, but then you're inviting third parties on here, and I don't like that. I was hoping that Google Plus would remain relatively plug-in free into the actual streaming content and stuff. The last thing I want to see is...
Peter and I are going to disagree on this one, too.
Okay, great. No, I love the debate.
Go ahead, Peter. I mean, Priz.
It's two things. One, I think the only way they're going to get significant amounts of people coming on are to have games. I mean, I personally dislike the games they've had so far because I think they're antisocial, not social. But the only way they're going to get What was that?
No, I said right. Of course, I'm disagreeing. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, as for plugins, I think the way that Facebook really made the splash is by letting outside developers build upon their platform. And I think the way Twitter started getting popular was by letting outside developers build on their platform. And until Google comes up with a way to do that in a nice Plus-like way, they're going to be relegated to nowhere. I think Google, we know that that's what Google's aiming for, but they're going to have to come up with a better solution to doing it than what they did with games. I think games on Plus, to me, seem like they're kind of, just sitting out there all by themselves. They've got very little relationship to Plus itself. I think unless they come up with a good integration and really give outside developers ways to use their features the same way that people are hoping that YouTube is slowly getting integrated, and the way people hope that Docs are going to get integrated, the way all of Google's properties are eventually going to fall under the Plus fold. I think that's what everyone wants, is they want this nice tight integration with Plus. And until they get it, I think Plus is going to kind of be nothing. It doesn't have a killer app yet, and it needs one.
I don't like the third-party apps. I think they're annoying, like Facebook has. I think the way Facebook
Now, are
did
you
it
talking about
is annoying.
APIs, Priz, or are you talking about apps within the stream? Are you talking about internal apps or APIs for external software?
Well, I'm talking about both. I think if Google does it right, they can give you they will be able to give the developers the API to nicely integrate in the stream and not spam everyone like Facebook did. And that's their challenge right now.
Because I don't care what
balancing content.
Go ahead, Tristan.
Like on the quizzes, they always spam everybody's feed on Facebook. Like, I don't care what bag of Doritos you are. I don't care what video game character you are. That's actually the reason I'd ignore and unfriend people on Facebook.
Yeah, I get a lot of. I just got a request in Ebony. I get that every day on Facebook. But like I said, I think the key is you can opt into that stream in Google Plus, because that was a lot of the folks liked Plus because you weren't bombarded with game updates about a game you're not interested in. But Facebook's always sort of been the default is opt in, and then you have to opt out. Whereas Google Plus, hopefully they're sort of doing it differently. Okay, so we have Priz, read the lead on this. Google can be a social network on the name police, but not both. And the Eric Schmidt thing, that was really interesting. He gave a speech, and I heard some varied reaction to that, ranging from it's just interesting to they need to rein this guy in, or why are they letting him talk for Google still, or whatever. What do you guys think? Prisoner, did you post that one? Are you set for that?
Did I post something about names? What do you think, Dan? Yeah. I think the two issues here were pretty good. I mean, the whole, if you read through the whole transcript of what Eric Schmidt said, and it's interesting if you read through the transcript itself instead of what people are commenting on it. He implies, but he never actually comes out and says that Google Plus is heading to be part of an identity service. And this is what we kind of talked a little bit about earlier with Peter, is Google as a whole is looking to become an identity service, same way that Facebook is looking to become an identity service. They want to be able to say to go to other websites and say, look, you don't need to come up with your own login scheme. Plug this code into your website, and people will be able to log in using the same login that they did into Google or into Facebook. So they're trying to establish that your Google profile will identify you, or your Facebook profile will identify you. And what Eric Schmidt basically said is that Facebook figured this out, that MySpace and Facebook figured this out. And he basically said, well, and we're just imitating them. but he kind of didn't quite connect all the pieces. He then went and jumped and said, and that's why we need a real name. And he kind of left a lot of people going, well, does that mean that Google Plus is just a bait and switch, that all you want from us is to connect our name to our data and to our friends, and the only thing you really want is our identities? And so that got a lot of people riled up. To me, I think the more and that's still an ongoing debate, but honestly, this is Eric Schmidt. He's not the CEO at the moment. He's kind of been pushed into this executive consulting position, and
he's still a big deal, though. I mean, he's not like Michael Arrington at TechCrunch. He's going to write a column every 6 weeks or something. I mean, Eric Schmidt is still he's just not the executor.
He's certainly a big deal. I mean, he even says he's coming out with a book on this whole thing now. But it's kind of hard to take him seriously when he's obviously he doesn't have a Google profile himself. And in the past, he's complained about the fact that people were able to gather information about him using Google. So it's kind of odd where this guy is coming from. I think the bigger story is the article that Bob Lakely at Gartner wrote, and that's the post I put above it. He wrote an article titled "Google Plus can be a social network or the name police, not both," and this is now published on Gartner's website. So here's an analyst saying that Google is heading in the wrong direction in their opinion. Now, a lot of people might say, Gartner, who cares? But there are a lot of people in the industry who pay attention to what Gartner says. So an issue which, 4 weeks ago was being buzzed about only on Twitter is now making names on and here, of course, because, we're ahead of the curve, is now making waves on big-time outlets, and Gartner is one of them.
All right, let me switch gears real quick and get Bowie and Tristan in on this. It looks like Google. One of the interesting things I always thought of Sergey and Larry as sort of the techno geeks, and Eric was the hired gun who was a CEO type to come in and the business guy. But now that they've switched and Larry Page has taken over the company, it seems like they're shuttering things left and right. And some of the things that they're shutting down, Aardvark, which was that was the Ask thing, right? That was the you could ask a question and anybody could answer it. And then Google Desktop, ending September 14th.
I like Google Desktop.
Are you getting arrested, Bowie?
No.
It's always fun having him on. All these noises. What do you guys? Any of these things matter to you? Subscribe link, SideWiki, Google Notebook. All that data is going to go to Google Docs. Image labeler completely shut down. Google Web Security will no longer actively sell, but they'll continue to support their customers. Discontinuing Google Pack. Flash APIs will no longer be supported for non-Premier customers as they switch more to JavaScript. Fast Flip is going to be incorporated into its news services. What do you got, Bowie? What do you think? Are these just not monetized well, poorly used services, and it's no big deal?
I don't think many people know about them, and no one really uses them. Like Google Sites. It's a service where you can build your own website. Your own blog, your own company website. No one really knows about it. So no one knows about it. No one's going to use it.
Just like Picasa. Picasa got a big bump in use because of Google Plus. Tristan, any of these things? Do you ask or answer questions on Aardvark? Or I think a lot of people used it when they first made the news when Google bought them, and then I went on and it was fun looking for questions to answer. And what do you think, Tristan? Did you hover on Aardvark a lot and answer people's random questions?
No, I never did. I was always on like developer forums and stuff, so I never really used that site or service.
And then Prisoner.
They just want to jump into the realm of Yahoo Ask or whatnot. They just want to jump in and kind of test the water and see if they can make it. And if they can't make it, they shut it down.
God,
they keep it going.
I hate Ask. I hate when you're trying to find an answer to a question, and you'll, like, I don't know, some random question, and you type it in search, and then it says, it asks the question, Google Ask, and then you go there, and it said, be the first to answer this question. It's like I've just wasted my time. That's very irritating, and I'm glad that they've, you still see them show up as one of the top couple results, and it's very frustrating. It's garbage.
Some are
SEO
good,
stuff. Yeah, some are good. Some have been helpful. When they rate, there'll be like 14 answers, and this one was chosen by the questioner as the best answer. How long to cook pasta or whatever, if you're just like, I don't know. So that can be helpful, but it's a lot of garbage. You have to weed through sometimes. But it's a free service, so I guess that's the price you pay. Any final thoughts, Bowie?
A couple of buddies of mine figured out how to do mobile Hangouts.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah.
This is wild, man. On your site, some kind of where is it? Some kind of Goog. Is that your site?
Yeah,
some kind of Goog. Yeah, this is wild. Had to do a Hangout using your mobile phone. This looks like a huge pain in the pita. I'm just gonna. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bowie. Explain how you do it.
Well, I haven't done it yet because I'm using Linux, so I'm gonna try and work it out with Linux. I haven't worked it out yet, but after you set it up, and the instructions are pretty easy. After you set it up, it's very easy to use. It's just the initial setup. It's not official. It's not made by Google. It's made by a couple of buddies of mine on Google Plus, Adam and Christopher. They're the ones that figured it out. They stayed up all night and with it, worked out the kinks, and got it working. But it's basically a workaround. It's not official. It's not from Google, but it works. And
you
have audio both ways and video both ways. So.
Yeah, what he's doing is you open Skype on your computer and you use something like ManyCam as your source, so you can just designate a part of your screen to be the source for Skype. Then you have a separate account on Skype on your mobile, and then you're feeding that, you're calling your desktop, and then your desktop is capturing that Skype video and audio and then routing it to the Google Hangout, and assuming nothing goes wrong, it'll work. I think this is a business opportunity for someone to set up a service. You could pay, that they would simply be an interface. It sounds like it wouldn't be rocket science to do that. I know some folks would subscribe for X amount per month to be able to do Hangouts from mobile. Tristan, would that be something that would interest you if you could do Hangouts from your phone instead of having to be at your desktop?
It would interest me, but I don't think I'd pay for it, nor do I think Google will stand for it. I think they'll release a Hangout app for the tablet before long if something like that ever happens.
Or they could pull a Zuckerberg and block it. Go ahead, Bowie.
Once they do that, once Google releases their own mobile Hangout app, then whoever starts that business lost a lot of money. They can't compete with Google if it's an official app.
They'd probably buy it.
Yeah, if it's official.
Any final thoughts, Tristan?
Nah, not really. I'm good.
He's getting ready to hang out somewhere. Prisoner, any final thoughts on this week of Google Plus experience?
Nope. Just hoping that next week we've got another exciting week coming.
All right. Great. Okay, I want to thank Bowie in Vancouver. I want to thank Brad in Australia, I can't remember the city, and his buddy Steve, who was on with us. I want to thank Peter McDermott. I want to thank Tristan Gilbert, and I want to thank Prisoner, a.k.a. Prisoner.
I have a final thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're ugly.
Thanks. All right, folks, that is the show, and we'll be back next week, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, midnight GMT, with another episode of Google Plus Week.